1, 2, 3. There, I did it for you. I'm gonna burn this place to the ground.
The Beekeeper is imagined as a gritty, high-intensity action thriller that operates on two levels at once. A brutal revenge story on the surface and a deeper exploration of justice, loyalty, and hidden systems of power underneath. From the opening moments, the movie establishes a world where order is an illusion, and where unseen forces quietly manipulate lives from the shadows. The tone is dark, focused, and relentless, making it clear that this is not a flashy action film driven by spectacle alone, but a story about consequence and controlled rage. At the center of the movie is a seemingly ordinary man living a quiet, isolated life. He keeps to himself, follows routine, and avoids attention, presenting the image of someone who has deliberately stepped away from society. This calm existence, however, is not born from peace but from restraint. Beneath the surface lies a past that is disciplined, dangerous, and deeply connected to a covert system designed to maintain balance through extreme measures. The movie slowly reveals that this man is not just a beekeeper by hobby, but part of a larger metaphor about control, order, and protection. The plot ignites when an act of injustice shatters the fragile calm of his life. What begins as a personal loss quickly expands into something far larger, exposing a web of corruption, exploitation, and abuse of power that stretches far beyond a single individual. The movie makes it clear that this event is not random, but a symptom of a system that has grown arrogant and untouchable. This moment becomes the catalyst that forces the protagonist to step back into a world he tried to leave behind. As the story unfolds, the audience learns about the hidden organization known metaphorically as the Beekeepers, a secretive force that exists outside traditional law enforcement. Their purpose is not to enforce the law, but to protect the hive society itself by eliminating threats that operate beyond legal reach. This concept gives the movie a unique identity, framing violence not as chaos but as calculated correction. The protagonist was once one of the most effective tools within this system, trained to act without hesitation or emotion. The cast surrounding the central character adds layers of tension and contrast. There are figures of authority who represent the official system, bound by rules and limitations, struggling to understand an enemy who operates beyond their jurisdiction. There are antagonists who embody modern corruption, wealthy, insulated, and confident that their power makes them untouchable. Each supporting character reflects a different side of the moral spectrum, forcing the audience to constantly question where justice truly lies. Emotionally, the movie balances restraint and fury with precision. The protagonist is not driven by loud anger or dramatic speeches, but by quiet resolve. His actions feel inevitable rather than impulsive, as if every step has already been calculated long before the story begins. This controlled approach makes the violence more impactful because it feels purposeful rather than reckless. The movie suggests that the most dangerous people are not those who lose control, but those who never do. Action sequences in The Beekeeper are designed to feel raw, efficient, and unforgiving. Fights are fast and brutal, emphasizing skill over spectacle. Weapons are used as tools rather than symbols, and every confrontation serves the story rather than existing for visual flair. The choreography reflects the protagonist's training, showing a man who knows exactly how much force is needed and never wastes energy. These scenes reinforce the idea that he is not improvising, he is executing a long-dormant protocol. As the body count rises, the movie expands its scope, revealing how deeply the corruption runs. What initially appears to be a personal vendetta transforms into a systematic dismantling of a powerful network. The protagonist moves through layers of protection, each more insulated than the last, exposing how modern power hides behind legal loopholes, digital systems, and disposable intermediaries. The film uses this progression to comment on how accountability has eroded in a world dominated by influence rather than integrity. The antagonists are portrayed not as physical equals, but as moral opposites. They rely on distance, money, and bureaucracy to protect themselves, underestimating the threat posed by someone who operates outside those structures. This imbalance creates a sense of inevitability as their confidence slowly turns into panic. The movie avoids glorifying them, instead presenting their downfall as a consequence of arrogance and disconnection from real-world consequences. The pacing of the story is deliberate, allowing tension to build between action beats. Quiet moments are used effectively to explore the protagonist's mindset, offering glimpses into the discipline and isolation that define him. These pauses prevent the movie from becoming exhausting, giving weight to each act of violence by reminding the audience that every action carries emotional and psychological cost, even for someone trained to suppress it. Visually, The Beekeeper adopts a grounded, muted aesthetic. The color palette favors dark tones and natural lighting, reinforcing the film's serious and controlled atmosphere. Urban environments feel cold and impersonal, while quieter locations emphasize isolation rather than comfort. This visual language supports the theme that modern society, despite its connectivity, is emotionally distant and morally fragmented. The movie also uses symbolism effectively, particularly through the concept of the hive. Order, hierarchy, sacrifice, and protection are recurring ideas woven into dialogue and imagery. The protagonist sees himself not as a hero, but as a worker fulfilling a necessary role. This perspective challenges traditional action movie morality, suggesting that justice is sometimes maintained not by ideals, but by unpleasant actions performed in silence. As the climax approaches, the film tightens its focus, bringing the conflict back to its emotional core. The final confrontations are not about spectacle, but about exposure and consequence. The protagonist does not seek recognition or redemption. His goal is correction. The resolution reinforces the idea that balance has been restored, but at the cost of further isolation. Victory in this world does not come with celebration. The ending of The Beekeeper is intentionally restrained. There is no sense of closure in the traditional sense, only a return to quiet. The protagonist fades back into the margins of society, having fulfilled his purpose once again. The movie leaves the audience with an uneasy reflection on justice, asking whether peace maintained through secrecy and violence is sustainable, or merely postponed chaos. In terms of release positioning, The Beekeeper is framed as a hard-hitting action thriller aimed at audiences who appreciate intense, character-driven stories. It leans into its identity confidently, offering a grounded alternative to over-the-top action films. The movie's appeal lies in its discipline, its moral ambiguity, and its refusal to provide easy answers. The trailer reflects this approach by focusing on mood, precision, and threat rather than excessive dialogue. Brief glimpses of controlled violence, quiet preparation, and looming consequences establish the tone immediately. The trailer suggests a story about systems being challenged from within, without revealing the full scope of the narrative, maintaining intrigue and tension. Ultimately, The Beekeeper stands as a story about order versus corruption, control versus chaos, and the price of maintaining balance in a broken world. It presents a protagonist who is not motivated by ego or recognition, but by an internal code that demands action when systems fail. By blending relentless action with thoughtful themes, the movie delivers an intense and reflective experience that lingers long after the final scene, leaving viewers to question who truly protects society when the rules no longer work.